switch on the recording. Just a moment. So good evening once again. I'm happy to greet everybody who joined the webinar today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Elena Daguns, and I'm a certified teacher of the Education Center for Education program on the teachings of Grigory Grabovoy. I conduct online lectures and the workshops during retreats. But our today webinar is devoted to the unique device of concentration development, PRK1U. Now, I will switch off the video in order not to be distracted from the slides. And we will start. So, the unique device of concentration development, PRK1U, was created by our distinguished Russian scientist Grigory Grabovoy to ensure eternal life for everybody. That is, not to prolong human life, but to be able to live forever in the physical body. We must realize that now, in our days, humanity's long-held dream of immortality is being realized. The device PRK1U is a device of new generation. It allows to develop consciousness and spirit of the person to state when the physical body of the person develops to the level of an eternal body that is always healthy and young body. The device is based on the two currently effective patented inventions of Grigory Grabovoy, method of prevention of catastrophes and the device for its implementation and information carrying system. But first of all, let me say a few words about the author. Grabovoy Grigory Petrovich, Doctor of Physical and Mathematical Sciences, academician, author of the discovery of creating field of information and original works on forecasting of future events, their control and correction, the author of the teachings on salvation and harmonious development. What are these teachings? If we talk about the teachings as a whole, it must be said that the teachings on salvation and harmonious development is a synthesis of science, religion, and art. The main goal of the teachings is the prevention of possible global catastrophe. People who are engaged in teaching for many years understand that mastering it, they rise to higher levels of states of consciousness where the boundaries between, for example, religion and science gradually disappear, and the art becomes highly spiritual. If you ask the question, why is it possible to control any events by means of own consciousness? The fact is, Grigory Grabovoy represented the whole universe in the form of information. So, universe is the information system. There is nothing in the world but information, which is organized in the form of information objects and information connections between all these objects. And the highest level of information development is consciousness. And consciousness controls everything in the universe, everything, beginning with atoms, elementary particles, molecules, and so on. Everything has its own consciousness. The one who learned how to control this consciousness controls the world substantially. In order to imagine how this happens, it's necessary to remember such a property of matter as the dualism of matter. We remember from quantum physics that matter at the quantum level can have two states, in the form of a wave of light, as you know, matter is condensed light, and in the form of corpuscles or particles of matter. In this case, we are interested in the wave nature of matter. These are the words of the author himself on this subject. First of all, I would like to tell you about principles of control by means of consciousness based on wave level of reality. Everybody knows from school days that light can be viewed in two ways, both as a wave and as a corpuscular particle. And taking into account that at the micro level, any object consists of atoms, molecules, and they also can be transferred into quantum light state, there is a conclusion. Any object, even solid, consists of waves. But from the point of view of mathematics, when we have many phenomena consisting of waves, physical objects, human body, nature, phenomena can be systemized and we can determine wave rule of development of each system. That's why when we say that physical objects move in space and make actions, social for mankind or natural, they all sometimes described extrapolationally, sometimes in terms of quality, but always from the point of view of wave theory. That's why when we think, we can consider that thought within the frames of wave processes acts as a wave process itself. And this is, by the way, registered by many quantum spectrographs, other devices. Photon light is generated during man's thinking. Consequently, control mission by means of consciousness for the purposes of macro salvation, where the creator is in the basis of creative development, the level where everything goes from, we have a very great strength acting for the purposes of salvation. It is this task which is the concentration platform of control waves of reality. That is, the target is to prevent probable global catastrophes. And even in case of minor usual thinking, it becomes controlling one, because distinction of basic Carrier waves in terms of mathematics principle make it possible to have a very great influence at even the lowest levels of control of this wave. So, tasks of treatment, influence on events, and so on are finally transformed into a separate system of light waves. And by taking control over the light of own consciousness, you can create resonance in any point of space and time, and you influence external system depending on the degree of correctness of thinking here near physical objects. That's why it is clear why it is possible to influence the events by means of structuring and technology of consciousness, because all events of reality are viewed from the wave point of view. It was the quotation of Grigory Grabovoi taken from the newspaper Control Variant Forecast of 2002. The theory of wave synthesis, which was developed by Grigory Grabovoi, is based on this knowledge. And this knowledge are based on the inventions of Grigory Grabovoi, method of prevention of catastrophes and device for its implementation and information carrying system, which in turn formed the basis of the device for the development of concentrations PRK1U. Why is it called a new generation device? Because it is a machine that can respond to a human thought, to our thinking, and help us, for example, in self-development. It is a machine that trains consciousness, that is, develops our capacity of the concentration of eternal life. In other words, with the help of this device, our controlled thoughts become more concentrated, and therefore they pass faster from the information level to the physical one, that is, are implemented in reality. When you turn on this device, you can see a very powerful increase in the intensity of the radiation of thought. And you can see how the radiation of thought enters the structure of the body, the material structure of the body. And taking into account that accordingly, due to the thought, which is also light, you can influence the substance of the body, if we consider as a wave at the micro level, it turns out that due to thinking, it's possible to normalize the body, and not only the body, but the objects of the outside world. And in fact, this device, it just develops this ability. The device universally works for the development of the following concentrations to ensure eternal life. Control number 1, development of concentrations of eternal life for any event. Control number 2, development of concentrations of eternal life for controlling clairvoyance. Control number 3, development of concentrations of eternal life for controlling forecasting. Control number 4, development of concentrations of eternal life for rejuvenation. However, it doesn't mean that the device is a magic wand. We must be able to concentrate, be able to formulate the objectives, the aims of control. We must know the methods and technologies of control. We must know the ideology of teachings based on the idea of salvation of all, the idea of creativity of knowledge, the idea of transferring the knowledge of salvation to all people. Therefore, the device is applied to the works and seminars of Grigory Grabovoi. We, the teachers of the Education Center, are always ready to share with you our knowledge, give you detailed information about the work with the device. Right now on the screen, you can see all the links necessary to know different terms. For example, the terms of participation in the online broadcasting, or the terms of the conclusion of the sub-license agreement for the education program with PRK1U, and so on. It must be said that the skills that you will gain by working with the device PRK1U will serve you in the future when mastering other modifications of the new generation device. This is very important because currently Grigory Grabovoi continues to develop new modifications of the device for different fields of activity. For example, there are already medical devices where the concentration of consciousness is less needed, but they work more independently with more advanced optical systems. And there are special devices that solve specific problems in terms of security of technical systems, for example, in the field of space instrument engineering. Now you see on the screen a quote from the webinar of Grigory Grabovoi given on January 21st, 2016, the teaching about God, development of consciousness to the level of ensuring the physical body with eternal life. The fact is that, in fact, the direction of instrument making, which ensures eternal life, it is quite diverse. And starting with devices for which there are patents, such devices as a consequence created from patents method of prevention of catastrophes and device for its implementation, and the patent information carrying system, where there are also separate devices. There are special devices that solve specific tasks in terms of safety of technical systems, for example, in the field of space instrument engineering. And in the interview with German correspondent Michael Vogt on May 30, 2017, Grigory Petrovich mentioned that he developed special technologies in space instrument engineering to ensure the solution of issues related to the transition to a certain other qualitative level of people's lives, when they have eternal life, not only locally within the framework of the earth, but also to ensure this from the point of view of control over outer space. And therefore, I think, he said, that as many people as possible should participate consciously in this process at the level of their good personal will. And then it will turn out that it will be a joyful and objectively different social system with a special property of joy, benevolence, and a special property of good events. Moreover, it should be mentioned that the range of problems that people can solve with the help of the device PRK1U is very diverse. And when you, generally speaking, work with the PRK1U, it is desirable to be able to extend this knowledge to any technical system. For example, to the diagnosis of your car, to some diagnostic activities related to transport, to future events, because the more you practice with the PRK1U, the more you have practices of interaction with external type systems that can help you. And for example, you need to go somewhere, you need an assessment of the route. You can estimate if there are many transfers, the route through the controlling clairvoyance, forecasting, then consider using, for example, PRK1U. And it's interesting that you can also do your own research on the possibilities of the PRK1U with the involvement in this process of, for example, your pets. In one of the webinars dedicated to the use of technical devices, Grigory Petrovich told about the need to realize eternal life for all living beings, not only for people. In this regard, he paid attention to the explanation how you can work with, for example, cats and dogs with the use of the device PRK1U. So when we can develop it, it means control structure, for all in this way, by showing the same screen of the smartphone with the lenses of the PRK1U to dogs, cats, other living beings, and at the same time watching how, for example, they begin to develop in the direction of ensuring their personal eternal life, then it's important to be able to observe such a process, that the ensuring of eternal life to all living beings. This is a process that It is mutually acceptable and enriches each other being with technology. And if you work with dogs, and you can use the concentration on the numbers near the lenses in a modified version. Right now it's on the right side of the screen. Um, then respectively, you can watch what is changing, for example, in pets. That is how the dog's behavior changes in this case if you use the PRK1U. For example, to show at least there for a few seconds the screen of the smartphone where there are these lenses. Try to work through telepathy and so on, through mental control, through direct control from the soul, for example. And then you can, by gaining experience of interaction, for example, with plants too, to improve growth, for example, there, and so on, you can see how the resources of the outside world begin to improve with the help of technical devices with which you work with this technical device. And then there is a certain task to be able to systematize this knowledge in order to further improve the ensuring of eternal life to yourself and everyone. Now, our webinar is going to the end. Right now, you see all the links in front of you and in the chat box. And I would like to say a few words about the fact is I'm planning to give a few webinars, a few short webinars on the subject of the work with the device PRK1U. And I would like to ask everybody who is right now here with us on the webinar and everybody who will listen to the recording to send the questions, if any, concerning the work with the device PRK1U, as well as the results. Maybe I'm sure you have those who work with the device. They absolutely they have the results, testimonials. So please send the questions and the testimonials to the address which is right now in the chat box. I think that our mutual work will make the webinars which I'm planning more interesting and more useful for everybody. Now our webinar came to the end, is over. Thank you very much for your attention and wishing you eternal harmonious life. Bye-bye.